China has now accused the U.S. of undermining the U.S.-China trade agreement. This follows a recent U.S. Commerce Department alert warning against using Chinese chips, specifically Huawei. For the latest, I want to bring in Mike Gallagher. He's Palantir Technologies head of defense. While in Congress, he served as chairman of the Select Committee on the CCP. So you have strong views on this. What do you think?
Palantir's playbook for outsmarting the Chinese Communist Party is a total game changer. Check this video out.
Well, the first thing to understand, if you take a step back, is that Huawei is not a real company. It is an arm of the Chinese Communist Party with access to unlimited state resources. It is a central node in the CCP's strategy to dominate us technologically, especially with AI. And so I think it is wise for us to use all the tools in our kit in order to constrain Huawei before their operating system, the new Harmony OS, is on every device globally. So whether that's export controls, whether that's sanctions, something we learned in Trump 1.0 is that we need to actually enforce the export controls we put in place. But we also learned that that's not enough, right? It's not enough to go around the world and just say, Huawei's bad, Huawei's scary. You need an alternative. We don't have an alternative that can effectively compete with Huawei, which is why we need to forge trade deals with our closest allies. We need to get them to Finlandize in our direction. So a lot of work to be done.
Okay, so but complicated.
That's actually a great point. The CCP doesn't build alliances, they build dependencies. But here's the question. What if our greatest leverage isn't just military or economic, but the ability to offer sovereign nations full visibility into their own data? That's where Palantir fundamentally shifts the equation.
So Here we are, not necessarily making friends with our friends, right? We have a lot of allies where we are now saying, hey, you want to be my friend? You got to pay us to be my friend, right? And that, some people are arguing, is going to send parts of Europe, parts of Africa, parts of other parts of the world, India even, into the arms of China and Huawei.
Well, here's the good news. I think across the world, people still want to be the friend of the United States of America. And China, the Chinese Communist Party, is not interested in having allies. They want vassal states that they can control. So we still have an enormous advantage. To your point, I do think it would be wise for us to start striking bilateral gold standard trade agreements, right? We have a huge opportunity, building off the momentum the president has from his Gulf trip, to build off the Abraham Accords and add a technological component to that. I would like to see a trade deal with Japan reached in the near future, and then we can start to build out from there. No one, I think, is saying a big multilateral trade agreement is in the offing, but something akin to a regional digital trade agreement in the Indo-Pacific, building off former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's vision of data-free flow with trust, I think would redound to our advantage. So we still have a better hand. We just have to play it well on the world stage.
The blunt reality that no company in China operates independently from the CCP is something the US can't ignore. This is exactly why operational intelligence platforms are essential, to differentiate between legitimate partners and those serving as conduits for adversarial influence.
You think that we can effectively block Huawei from getting on all of the different services that exist around the world, because they're basically offering it for free?
I think if the United States Congress and the United States President work in tandem, I was happy to see my former committee, the Select Committee, is starting to investigate the Harmony OS system. I think if we resource our export control enforcement, which is why I was heartened to see that even in the era of Doge, the president is proposing a 50% increase to Commerce's export control arm, BIS. I think we actually can learn from the lessons of the last time we tried to take on Huawei and ZTE and be more effective this time.
Can I just ask one related question? Do you think that every company in China is an arm of the Chinese government?
I think there is no such thing as a free market company in China. By law, every company in China is beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, that's not to say there aren't people and companies in China that would like to be free from the yoke of the Chinese Communist Party. That's not to say there isn't true innovation happening in China, but the system is a Marxist-Leninist techno-totalitarian system. Yes.
This is the real dilemma. Can American companies truly operate in China without compromising strategic interests? And more importantly, how long can they ignore the growing operational risk when the data clearly shows the CCP's increasing willingness to weaponize supply chains? This is exactly where Palantir's risk modeling comes in, turning uncertainty into foresight.
Okay, so then what do you think of the American businesses that are doing business in China? So what do you think, and Elon Musk is going to be interviewed later today, what do you think of Elon Musk, given his relationship with the president, but the big business that Tesla has in China? Do you believe that he is therefore under the thumb of China? Do you believe that Tim Cook is under the thumb of China?
What I've been saying for a decade is that it is going to be increasingly difficult to do business in China and maintain presence in China. For all the talk about decoupling, whether we're decoupling, selective decoupling, the fact is that Xi Jinping is attempting to decouple from us. And American businesses that don't understand that risk and take steps to diversify their supply chain, I fear are going to get caught in the supply chain. The other component of this is that in order to
the ones that are
that don't model the risk are going to get caught in the decoupling going on.
Okay.
Excuse me. The other thing I would say is that one thing that completely undermines our deterrent posture, even from a conventional military perspective, is our dependency on China economically, right? So what is China threatening to do in response to us prohibiting the Huawei Ascend 910 B, C, and D chips? They're threatening to weaponize their dominance in rare earth and critical minerals in order to bring us to our knees. We need to wean ourselves off of that dependency so that they cannot threaten us and hold us hostage in that way. And similarly, if they were to take Taiwan, as Xi Jinping continues to threaten to do, they would be able to hold the rest of the world completely hostage economically.
Is your view that they're going to at this point? What's your base case on taking Taiwan, let's say, during this administration?
My view, informed by what we've seen in Ukraine in recent years, is that if a dictator tells you they're going to do a thing, even if that thing seems outlandish from a Western perspective, we should take it pretty damn seriously.
This underscores a hard truth. Military strength and economic resilience are inseparable. A robust data infrastructure powered by platforms like Palantir doesn't just help fight wars, it prevents them by making adversaries doubt whether success is even possible.
Okay, and let's say they do it during this administration, next 3 years. What do you believe that this administration does?
Well, first, I do believe this administration is committed to preventing that from happening. And I think it's a bipartisan position to say it would be nice not to go to war with China. We should move heaven and earth to deter a war with China. And we can do it if we actually act with a sense of urgency, leveraging autonomous systems, leveraging advanced technology and things like that. I do think there is one of the missing pieces of our strategy right now is breaking down all the barriers to technological and military collaboration with our key allies and partners in the Indo-Pacific so that we have a joint deterrent posture, not just a U.S. deterrent posture.
That sounds like a fantasy idea.
I don't think it's a fantasy idea. And I think
what happened to get us there? Because it seems like we are a long way from that right now.
One of the, for example, we've been talking for years about we need to turn Taiwan into a porcupine, right? Well, we have, and we've been encouraging our friends in Taiwan to spend more on defense. Our encouragement would be stronger if we were, for example, to clear the $20 billion backlog of foreign military sales items that we've approved but have yet to be delivered to Taiwan. That's absolutely something
China in a
we
very
could.
Big way. What would be the repercussions from China if we do that?
Listen, the lesson of dealing with Marxist-Leninist regimes, the lesson of all of Solzhenitsyn's writings is that you need to put steel in their path if you want them to stop. The fundamental paradox of Marxist-Leninist regimes is that they get more aggressive the more accommodating you are to them. So the only thing that will convince Xi Jinping to reverse course is if he concludes that his lifelong ambition, i.e. taking Taiwan, is in fact unachievable because his military isn't ready and he's scared of our military. Our deterrence rests on our ability to scare him.
If that blows up the détente that we have right now when it comes to trade, is it worth it?
I actually think it enhances our ability to sit across from the table with Xi Jinping and talk about economic and technological issues. You can't silo these things, right? Mm-hmm. In fact, like a credible military deterrent gives life to our soft power, gives life to all of our diplomacy. If you don't have that fundamental foundation, you're not going to be able to strike a trade deal that's worth anything.
In this video, we saw how Huawei's state-backed reach threatens global tech sovereignty, why we need enforceable export controls and gold standard digital trade pacts, and how Palantir's real-time data platforms can unite allies in a transparent deterrent posture, turning intelligence